Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man back in the studio, and today I'm showing off some completed Tau Pathfinders. This paint job is all done by hand, no airbrush, and obviously what I was looking for was obviously the OSL effect, but I wanted to basically start off with a relatively simple, kind of like dusky, dreary type look. And then keep it like a little bit kind of dark and faded, and then that actually lets the OSL really stand out. So obviously I have picked the Tau Pathfinder team. This is essentially like configuration for a kill team that we'll be using in the future for battle reports. So I basically went ahead and painted these up. My brother plays Tau, and I was hoping to get him to play some kill team with me for some videos that I would like to be creating, some battle reports and everything for the channel. So I thought, what better opportunity than Christmas and the holidays and everything to present him with a fully painted kill team that hopefully I could get him to play in games with me as opposed to playing Sadhammer for some battle reports. So here we have the completed project. They are on the Zone Mortalis style bases with just a little bit of sand and some skulls added on. This is the Kill Team Chalnath box set, assembled with one Recon drone, one shield drone, one marker light drone, and then we have two of the weapon specialists in the back there, each with an iron rifle. We have like the one sniper with the rail rifle, and then there is a basically like comms trooper, a drone controller, a grenade specialist or grenadier, medic, basically a veteran. I can't remember what the other guy's name is, but he has like the special like pulse, disarming or whatever stun device, and then finally the squad leader as well. So a bunch of them are equipped with marker lights. They have a lot of like the cool little like variances that come off the sprue for the new Pathfinder set from the Chalnath kit. A lot of the heads are specifically from that. So you'll notice I only have like the one dude with the EMP grenade with the helmet on. Obviously he needs it to protect him from the shock. But overall, really happy with the kit. The actual regular like Pathfinder kit is already like pretty freaking cool. The drones are cool and everything. There's some options in there. But the additions inside of like that extra sprue, it doesn't seem like much, but there's already like a ton of cool variances and weapon options in the set. But the addition of like the extra heads and a bunch of like the other like small little options like, the medic and the grenadier and all that stuff really take it to the next level. So I went ahead and basically painted these up, as a gift. With hopes that I would get my brother to play some games with me. So obviously we will see how that plays out. He obviously has a lot of his own stuff going on, like everyone does, and stays pretty busy himself. But, I thought that would make for not only a cool video to show off the Tau and the OSL, but also to just kind of talk about like giving Warhammer as a gift. And I think a lot of times when you're trying to get someone into the game or get someone to play with you or whatever, you think, oh, maybe I'll give them a squad or whatever, but there's still so much work that has to go behind it, and then they have to build an army or they have to assemble them and paint them, and there's just so much to it. So I wanted to basically just kind of present the opportunity or discussion or whatever of like giving fully painted models as a gift. And I know most people would prefer to like paint their own models or whatever, but I think that presenting somebody with a fully built like squad or kill team or whatever that's painted and just ready to play, I think that really increases like the probability of getting someone to actually like play the game with you or get excited about the game. So that's kind of what I was going for. So obviously we'll see how it plays out. We don't know yet, but I'm hoping that, this does work. Regardless, I think it's a great opportunity to give someone, like a piece of your art or something custom and cool that you created for them specifically, way to personalize a gift, etc. And I think that's pretty key, especially for somebody that is an adult who can basically just buy whatever they want. So giving Warhammer as a gift, cool for sure, definitely awesome, and a lot of people like to get Warhammer as a gift. But giving a fully painted kill team or something like that as a gift, I think is like next level. I really like the idea of it. And then I think it increases the probability of us like playing together Obviously, he is a tau player already. So, you know, it's right along the lines for him. Also, the Pathfinder Kill team is awesome, new, and performs extremely well also. So all those things together made this an easy option for me. And then when you look at, you know, what's the actual cost of it, say somewhere between, you know, $50 and $75 roughly for like the actual kill team, you know, factor in the bases, etc. But, you know, what could you sell this kill team for? You know, a few $100s for sure. Definitely for a fully painted, nicely painted kill team. You know, how many hours went into it, building it, painting it, etc. I would say I probably spent roughly 6 to 8 hours, something like that on it. So when it's all said and done, you know, sure, I put a decent amount of time, effort, and minimal amount of money into a gift. But in the end, I think the final gift is like exponentially more valuable because it's personalized, and you know, there's obviously no other kill teams out here like this. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the idea of giving like a Warcry warband or a kill team, or you know, something like that, or a special character, but not only just as a gift but fully painted, to try to get someone into the hobby, so to get someone that's already in the hobby reinvigorated, or just to get somebody to play a game with you. You know, and obviously could fail, might end up playing Sadhammer and doing, you know, those battle reports. But regardless, at least we're one step closer now to actually like filming battle reports, playing some games. I can show off like some of the tactics for the Tau, for the Pathfinders, how some of the units work, some of the cool combos, etc. Even if we're not playing an actual game, you know, I can show off the actual models, and it's much more presentable in that fashion. So let me know what you think. I'm curious to hear your opinions, etc. Also curious if anybody's interested in like a tutorial or anything, like showing how I painted these guys. I know a lot of people don't have airbrushes, or like, you know, there's always some pushback when you do like airbrush videos because it doesn't appeal to everyone. These are all completely done with a regular brush. And then I did like dry brushing and edge highlighting for the OSL. So I'll kind of show off the models in detail, but first I just want to discuss how I did this actual paint job. So I painted the bases separate from like the actual models. So all I did for the bases was I went ahead and sprayed them with a gray. After I added on a little bit of sand and a skull on each one. And then I just went through with some leadbelcher and did some of the metallics on them. I went through with some bit of the retributor armor gold and did the other metallics. And then I went ahead and just washed basically everything but the retributor armor with nuln oil. Then went back through with some ironbreaker and did like some steel highlights on them. And then went back and did Recon flesh shade over top the gold. Then painted the skulls in white, and then did a contrast paint skeleton horde over the skulls. And then finally I went through and just did the base rims in black. May need to do a couple touch-ups actually, because I was kind of in a hurry to get them done before Christmas, so may have touched a couple of them before they were completely dry. So but overall, bases came out really nice. I wanted something that would fit in with most battlefields, so I thought if I had like some gold or brown and then some gray, it should go pretty well with like most of the kill team mats, etc. But more importantly, let's talk about the actual kill team themselves. So so for them, I started off with a white base coat or primer. Then went in with the white contrast paint and just completely covered the models with the white contrast paint. Painted the heads separate from the actual like bodies and everything else. So I completely assembled them except for the heads were on one of my sprues separately, like like my display sprues. I'm sure you've probably seen in the other videos. So basically with the heads off the models, I did them all with the contrast white paint. And then I went in afterwards and I basically did like recess shading. Used the agrax earthshade for the recess shading. So essentially what I did was I went in with like a detail brush and I just painted some down in like the cracks and around the recesses of like the guns and shadows and everything. But I did do initially, it wasn't just a straight up white paint job. It was a Zenathal spray. So I started with a black and then did gray and then did white. And then I did, the white contrast paint over top of them. Then I recess shaded them with the agrax earthshade. And that gave me like basically the base for the actual models, the weapons, everything like that. So then after that was done, after they were all dry and everything was good, I then went in and basically started doing some of the details. So I took like some black and basically went over like a couple details on the guns to kind of darken them up and add a little bit of contrast to it. So I used the black Templar contrast paint for that, and then also their pants as well. So that gave me basically the overall like colors and everything for the models. I then took the Space Wolf Gray and I did a couple spots on like the guns, some of the marker lights, and then obviously like the rims of the drones. And that kind of gave me like that kind of bluish gray look. And that was essentially like the base for the models. So then the next step after that was to basically go through and do the OSL. So for the OSL, I did obviously green and blue OSL. I wanted to have primarily the weapon glow be blue. I wanted to have like the marker lights and like the night vision kind of stuff be green. And then obviously I have like the drone controller and the comms devices and everything that are blue as well. And just like some other little bits on the drones, you know, kind of targeting stuff and whatever, glowing in green also. So for those, it's very simple. And if you're interested in this and demonstration of it, I would be glad to do a tutorial video on how I do the OSL. It's very simple, but gives you an amazing effect if you just spend the time and do it right. So I basically dry brush a large area with like the darkest version of that color. So it was like Caliban green for the green, and I did like a navy blue, like dark blue for the blue. So then after I do that, I basically just figure out where the light would be hitting the model. You can either use an actual light to figure it out. You can just kind of wing it, you know, do whatever you want depending on your level of experience. But I basically just kind of dry brush around that area, which at first is a little crazy on fully painted models basically. But it turns out obviously very nice. So I went through and did like the darkest color first, and then I slowly just go to like lighter after that. So I used teclis blue for the blue, and I just did a couple of like edge highlights, and then with each edge highlight onto the dry brushed area, I just get progressively lighter. So I essentially use like the teclis blue 50-50 with the like dark blue, and then I used 50-50 teclis with the white, and then I just did like some last little bits in white. And then for the green, same thing. I use that Caliban green for the dry brush. And then afterwards, I use the moot green 50-50. And then I use moot green straight up. And then I use basically like a moot green with white. And then just put like one little dab of white for like the absolute like source of the light. And the key is that basically each time you go through and do your different color, you just only cover up like 50% of the last color. So if initially you cover the area 100%, the second coat you do, you cover 50% of that 100%. And then the next coat you do, you cover 50% of that 50% or 25% total. And then just keep going down until at the end you just have like little dots of basically white. And the key for the OSL is the actual contrast. So if you have already light models and you try to do OSL, it's not going to show up as well. But if you create the darkness using the initial dark color or like the dark kind of dinginess of the models, like the brightness of the light really shines. And in this case, you know, I kind of went overboard a little bit on the OSL, but I was trying to go for like that energy Tau kind of like future alien effect. So I want it to really be accented. So you'll see there's a couple other little colors on here. There's like some red on their chest plates. There is some of like the contrast yellow on like some of the drones and some of the bits on their guns and everything. But when it's all said and done, I really didn't use that many colors for these models. I think I probably used like maybe 10 or 12 paints with the washes. You know, like I said, probably about like 8 hours. So to paint up, you know, 13 guys and do their bases, really not that bad. You know, probably somewhere between, you know, 30 minutes to about 30 minutes roughly per guy. And then obviously bases, casual time, whatever. Spent a little more time on some guys than others. And then I did the heads separately on a sprue. And then when I was done, I had like, I think I did like 16 or 17 heads. And then I just picked my favorite ones, how they would match on the guys. After I glued on the heads, I had to go back through and do just a little bit of extra OSL on a couple of them, specifically like the helmet and stuff. But overall, didn't have to do much because I figure like the kind of like metal or like the whatever material the Tau like armor is made of, you know, the plastic, whatever it is, would kind of reflect light a little more than like their faces did. And for the faces, that was pretty simple as well. Basically just did a, what did I do for the faces? I painted the faces white, and then I did the Space Wolf gray contrast paint on them. And then I just used a couple lighter grays to do like a couple little like edge highlight areas to kind of pick out the detail. Again, use the Black Templar for their hair, and then obviously you know, did all the little bits of their like special helmets and goggles and stuff the same with the OSL and everything. So but that's enough of describing them. Let's take a look at the actual models up close and personal, and we can get like the full effect of the kill team. So all right, so first and foremost, we have the leader of the kill team. So my main goal here was to make sure and kind of like accent the marker light, and then obviously he has like his little device here that he's looking at, like his little computer that would be like reflecting light onto like his face and chest. So overall, I definitely wanted to keep him looking kind of like dingy, like he's been in battle and been out on the field for a while. You know, he's got his little knife on his side there. This is an interesting area because you have like the combination of like the armor, the red from like the shoulder pad, and then you have the light that's on his shoulder shining forward, as well as the light from like his little computer device shining like backwards or towards him. So I had to like basically capture the different ways the lights would interact with each other, and then the way the lights would like blend as they kind of like you know, interact directly on a surface. I definitely like how he came out, and you know, definitely one of like the highlight models for the army. And then obviously you'll see I added on just some minor decals as well. But very cool, very happy with how he looks. All right, so next we have our like veteran guy. I can't remember the specific names off the top of my head. I should have looked and kind of refreshed my brain prior to making the video, but you guys know he's like the hardened Pathfinder. So he has a silencer on his pulse rifle. So he still has his marker light. Oh wait, pulse carbine. So he still has his marker light. So I wanted to make sure that the light of the marker light is kind of shining on the tip of the gun or the silencer that sticks out a little further. So you can kind of see that. And then obviously wanted like the tip of the gun itself to be kind of glowing as well. You know, which obviously was achieved. And then he has his like bionic arm, kind of like part of his veteran status. So I wanted to make sure that that kind of stands out, but overall still kind of fit like the dusky kind of dingy look. So I picture his bionic arm being some sort of like, you know, crazy futuristic version of metal. The Tau don't really use like metallics in general, or for the most part. So I went ahead and did sort of like a kind of like faded, like, I don't know, more of like a platinum or like titanium kind of like look is what I was kind of going for, as opposed to like just your shiny old silver. And then obviously his goggles are like flipped up, so I wanted to capture like his face and motion and everything, but also like the way the light kind of interacts with them as well. And then he's got a couple little cool things on the backpack, a little grappling hook and stuff. And then I went ahead and found a good spot for a little decal as well. And again, I think the key with these guys is that like the OSL effect really sells like the overall paint job, because I kept them kind of like gritty looking and a little dingy, and really was able to like capitalize on like the Zenathal highlight. So that's kind of the effect. I mean, it's definitely the effect I was going for, and I'm very happy with how it came out when it's done. I think if these guys were painted up like a little more like clean and crisp, the OSL just might not have the same effect. And if you're not familiar with the term OSL, it is object source lighting. It's basically like the light that the glowing object would like project onto an object itself from the source. So, all right. So next we have this dude. Again, I cannot remember his name, but this guy basically has like a cool attachment built onto his pulse carbine. In addition to his marker light and regular gun, he's got like that big old attachment on the side there that is glowing in blue, and basically shoots people with it, and like sort of like a stun gun. So it basically takes away like one of their action points in game terms. Again, I can't really think of what it's called, but it's basically just like slows them down a little bit or makes them less useful. So again, very cool guy. Slapped a little decal on the front there. You can see the full effect of like the yellow contrast paint on a couple spots there as well. And then obviously again, I wanted to make sure that the marker light is kind of projecting its light onto the other device. And then also I have like kind of centered the light of his goggles like towards the middle to kind of like imply that the middle is like the most intense kind of light that's being given off. And then everything else it's kind of like faded as you like circle around. Again, really like this guy and like the overall like gritty, grimy look of him. So next we have our medic bro. So I went ahead and chose one of the like crouching bodies, you know, as if basically one of his fallen comrades needs some medical attention. So he is like crouched down, ready to inject them with some stimulants to get them back in the fight. So went for the crouching body, which you get a couple of in the set. Went for like the exposed kind of action looking face, and just like the little like eye device for like examining the injury and deciding you know, how much of a boost this guy needs to get back in the fight. Slap one of the decals on the shoulder pads. If there are any like full-on Tau aficionados out there, I started off using like the Pathfinder decals, and then decided that I just wanted to use the ones that look coolest, and like various size and looks of the decals were not necessarily the best ones from the Pathfinder kit. So there's a combination of just random other ones as well. So you may see some like Crisis or Breacher team decals. You know, so if you speak the native language of the Tau, I understand that I did violate the decal rules of the Tau, but overall, I think the look was the most important. So, and for this one, I went ahead and used the other contrast paint for the actual little weapon, like the little stim booster device. So that is the Tesseract Glow on there. And I put it kind of heavy. I didn't want it to have like the kind of like faded out look. I wanted it to look like it was full of the juice. Could have added in like some extra little like reflection or anything on them. But again, I didn't really want to take away from like the OSL, because that was like my main goal on these guys. Minimally paint everything else except for drawing attention to the faces and the OSL. All right, so next we have our drone controller. So again, I chose the second of the crouching bodies. So he has like basically his device in one hand, and then he's sort of like using his other hand to kind of control the drone. So I like to think he would be like ducked down out of fire, and then obviously he's like seeing what the drone like sees through his goggles. So I picture him being in like the full-on virtual reality world. So I wanted to make sure that it looked like the hand that's over top is like blocking some of the light, but a lot of it is like peeking through to the arm he's holding like the device in. And then obviously for like the actual backpack, he has like, you know, that little part that's glowing on the backpack. I picture that as like basically the transmission device for like the control of the drone. So it's giving off like a big signal, needs to have like a big bright light, and then that light should be radiating like object source lighting onto all the stuff around it. So again, very happy with how it came out. Definitely achieved the effect, and then went ahead and slapped a little decal on his shoulder pad as well. Very, very cool guy. Definitely like him. Like all of them. They all came out phenomenal in my opinion. All right, so next we have our sniper specialist. So he is armed with the rail rifle. Game terms, he's got a couple options to like basically shoot it silently, which is pretty cool. Or he can shoot it at like full power and just FSU. I went ahead and put a little decal on his gun for some added Tau effect. Again, went like overly heavy with the OSL, as if like the gun itself is like giving off a bunch of energy from like the inside outward, and then like projecting all over itself, as well as like the edge of the barrel. And again, up close, you can kind of see, didn't have to spend a ton of time, didn't do a bunch of like edge highlighting or anything on the actual like armor pads or the model itself. I basically did just like the like recess washing and the initial like coloring, and then I focused again on like the actual OSL effect. So here I picked the helmet that has like basically a little like bionic eye type deal, like kind of poking into the sight. So it basically lines up perfectly with the sight and then goes straight down the sight and down the barrel. And then you'll see I actually did like some green effect coming from the actual like sight itself onto the top of the gun. So again, like the OSL kind of interacting with the other OSL. And definitely one of my favorites. Very happy with how he came out as well. All right, so next we have basically like our comms guy. So he has got like, he's grabbing like his little antenna that they all have attached to the sides of their heads. Kind of like holding it like a cell phone, kind of talking into it. And then he's got his little like hollow device, alien style, kind of tracking where the bad guys are at and letting his bros know where they are. So again, I wanted to have that giving off a bunch of light. So I went with like the super intense OSL look, but wanted to like project it specifically towards that part of his body. And then just like a tip of like his actual like comms device, but didn't put it on his face. One, because his face is kind of already that color, but two, because I figure, it's not going to reflect or like show off the light in the same way as, like the shiny kind of like metal or ceramite or whatever Tao's armor is made of. So again, we've got one little decal on there. It's got a little gun strapped to the back. Pretty simple, but pretty freaking cool in my opinion. Again, very happy with how he came out. All right, so next in line is our Grenadier. So he obviously has like the full on action pose. So I gave him the pose that he's running forward. I also positioned him so that his foot looked like he was basically stepping over this skull. That also gave me like a second mounting point, so he's like less likely to break off his base. I always like to use like 2 or like tri-point gluing to stop things from breaking. And then obviously the action pose of the grenade went super well with the OSL because I'm able to basically make it look like each side of the grenade is like glowing, but the actual grenade itself, like not like the little vent parts on it are glowing. So I have basically like a strong glow coming from either side, but not as much down like the central line of it. So it kind of projects onto like his chest and his helmet. And then obviously he has like the green from his helmet as well. So again, we have like the green and the blue OSL kind of interacting with each other. And then went ahead and got a little bit on like his little comms device, give him a couple extra grenades. I did not make them glowing as like they haven't been activated yet. So I figure there's no reason for them to be glowing in the same way. But you can see that by creating like the lighter portion on that side, it looks like that's where the light source is coming from because it's like the whitest or the brightest there. And then obviously he's the only one with the helmet on. Went ahead and gave him, a little decal where they would normally have their decals. And that's part of the reason I added a bunch of random decals other places. I wanted everybody to have at least one decal. And normally their decals go on their helmets. But I went with like the no helmeted squad to make them a little more like personable. And use like some of the super cool like options available. And then he was the one I had to do the most extra like detail on the head after I glued it. This one, and then also like the drone controller guy, because I needed to do like the OSL on the back of the head. And I actually hadn't decided which heads was going on who yet. I was going to do all helmetless heads, but decided to give this guy a helmet because if he's going to be throwing crazy grenades up close, I figured he might need like the extra protection from the blast that a helmet would offer. Normally I like to have helmets on all my guys because, you know, you don't want to get Starship Troopers and like shot in the face for taking off your helmet. But I do really like these helmetless heads, and I definitely think it adds like some personability or like personality to the models. You know, I keep saying one of my favorites, but I think they're all my favorites. So very happy with how he came out as well. So next we have the first of the ion rifles. So again, wanted to have a nice glowing effect coming from the actual ion rifle itself, like the tip of the gun. Put a little decal on the gun as well. Kept it fairly simple with him, and obviously the two ion rifles are the most similar to each other. Gave him like the cool helmet with the green glow and then the blue glow on the weapon. And you know, this is one of the two gunners right here. And then went for a different pose on this gunner. So I wanted to make sure obviously that the legs were different so they didn't look too similar. And then obviously this gun has like a little something going on in the back there. I'm not sure if that's it, like full on shooting or like venting out like hot plasma after it's shot or getting ready to reload it. Again, I'm not really sure, but I do like the effect that like the back part of the gun is like opened up. So I made sure that there was like an intense amount of glow coming from that back part as well, and then projected it down onto the backpack and like the actual like little bits on his belt and everything. And again, like the cool green glow on his helmet as well. So again, very happy with how each and every one of these guys came out. So next we had the first of our drones. So this one is the shield drone. So I wanted to make sure that the like green kind of like sighting or like glow or whatever effect on the drones was one color, and then like the other cool effects they had was the blue. So I want a combination of the blue and the green and make sure that they interact with each other, but each had like their own little individual thing going on. So you can see I did like the green effect coming from like his little sensors and everything in the front, like his drone eyeball, his little robot eye. But I wanted to make the actual like shield itself appear like the energy was like coming from the central portion of it. So I went ahead and started in the middle there and made that like the brightest of the blue effect, and then just kind of projected it out onto like the other parts of it as well. And then I also went a little bit OSL like green on the tip of like their antennas, imagining that obviously they had to give off a little bit of energy, you know, because they're being like controlled or communicating a little more. Added on some of the traditional decals as well. And again, very happy with how this came out. Not sure if I should have went with the gun drone or the shield drone. You get a bunch of options, but only 2 actual drones. Maybe I will add a couple drones in later as options. But I figured durable shield drone is always nice. But possibly the gun drone might have been the way to go. So, but very, very cool. I really like how this guy came out looks wise too. I don't think the gun drone would have looked as cool. So, and I didn't go too crazy on the weathering with these guys. I thought about doing like a little bit of like kind of sponge like weathering around them to show them like a little more beat up. But I felt like the contrast paints and like the you know, kind of like Zenathal highlight did a pretty good job overall. So really like this little drone dude. So next we have the marker drone. So again, had like the kind of like drone eyeball and the little like targeting device in like the green OSL, and then the actual marker light itself with the blue OSL. So a little bit different from the actual Pathfinders, but I wanted to make sure that I incorporated some of like the blue and green on them. Definitely very cool. Happy with how he came out. Also gave him like 2 of the antennas instead of the 1. I'm not really sure how they determine how many antennas you're supposed to put on them, or if there's like any specific like you know, rhyme or reason or anything. But I figure the 2 makes this one stand out, and the 1 makes the other one stand out. And also, for some reason, you only get 3. So you can put 1 on each, or 2 on one and 1 on the other. So this was just the kind of way it worked out. So, but again, really like the look between like the blue and the green. I guess his marker light maybe is blue because it's like the double marker light and the other guys are regular. I don't know. I didn't really like think it through. Maybe I should have done his marker light in green as well, and then done like the little side thing in blue. But I don't know. I really like how it came out, and I was just kind of winging it. So. But again, super happy with the OSL effect and the final version and everything. And last but not least, we have the Recon drone. So obviously this is much larger and the focus point of like any Tau or Pathfinder Kill team. So I wanted to make sure that he looked extra awesome. So again, I did all the like green OSL for like his lights and everything. And then for the burst cannon, I wanted to look like it is shooting off that like kind of like you know, hot plasma or whatever, so it's kind of glowing like that blue. So I did like the OSL effect coming from the front of the gun, where I figured it would be like hot or glowing or giving off like light through like the whatever technology that is projecting whatever that is shooting out of these style weapons. So I went ahead and acted like the shield itself was going to block the light, and then just kind of projected it back onto the actual drone body itself. And then again, it has like the little cool green glow kind of things going on at the bottom. But then on the back, it obviously has like the jets or like means of propulsion to make this thing fly. So I wanted to make sure that those were giving off a nice bright glow as well. So I went with like almost a pure white down in there. And then I kind of projected like the various levels of blue down onto like the actual body of the drone itself. Including like the back of the burst cannon, to just kind of show that they would be giving off that light and making that glow. And then obviously a little bit like surrounding the top portion of like the exhaust vents as well. And kind of mesh that all together with like the green glow, a couple decals on top, a little like air intake, you know, a little bit of that damage, some decals. But overall, very cool, very happy with how they came out. Definitely like this guy. The gun does kind of like pivot a little bit. So you can kind of aim it up and down. And again, I wanted to make sure that I had like the light and dark full on like contrast effect in play as well. So, but very cool. So that is it for the Pathfinder Kill team. Again, very happy with how they came out. Used some like techniques that I'm very familiar with that I use often. Also revisited some old ones and used a couple that I have not really used before. I don't really use some of these techniques as often as others, but overall I was going for the typical thing I'm going for, which is efficiency and then overall look. So I want to have to repaint as few things as possible, make as few mistakes as possible, make sure that I progress through the job or like the task, you know, quickly but efficiently, and then make sure that for these guys specifically, I wanted to go with like the super extreme OSL and kind of like the dingy, dirty look, you know, like the battle worn look of the kill team. But most importantly, you know, especially for battle reports, and that's kind of the goal of these guys, is to look cool on battle reports. I thought it was super important to have them overall just kind of like dingy looking and kind of like that grayish brown, just kind of blah look, but to make sure that each one stood out like bright with the combination of like the blues or the greens from the OSL, so that you could pick them up easily on camera and you know, they would really stand out. So definitely felt like achieved all the goals I was looking for, and then obviously fell right in line with, you know, basically creating some cool models that I could give as a gift and sort of push like my ulterior motive as well. And you know, and it sounds bad when I say my ulterior motive, but if my motive is to get my brother to play Warhammer with me, or to get you excited about like trying out some OSL or watching some battle reports or whatever, I'd say it's a pretty good ulterior motive. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed these guys, if you'd like to see a tutorial on how I do the OSL or how I did the actual technique itself, or you know, if you just want to see how I did every part of these guys, because you're interested in doing something similar. It was difficult for me to pick out a like tile color scheme initially, but once I found this one and kind of give it my own little spin with the OSL and everything, I felt like it definitely it exceeded what I was looking for. It's definitely everything I wanted and so much more. My brother definitely liked the models, was excited about them. So we'll see if we get some battle reports here pretty quick. I think I'm going to be playing the Commandos, and he's going to be playing the Tau Pathfinders. So obviously 2 of the Bestoke kill teams, both very strong, arguably 2 of the strongest kill teams. And we're both pretty tactical veteran players. So while we're not as experienced with a new kill team, I think we can overall get some, you know, fun and enjoyable campaign or battle reports, but also like some true competitive games going as well. So I'll be able to show off some of the like actual tactics and cool combos and everything of both kill teams, film hopefully some nice quality and enjoyable battle reports, and obviously show off some sweet terrain and models as well. So if you haven't checked out the video for like the painting tutorial for the Octarius terrain, basically did a real-time you know, full-on paint job on the Octarius set, and then showed off some of like the completed you know, kill team itself, and now we have the Tau completed also, and then just about finished filming the orc basically like painting tutorial or guide as well. That one is using primarily contrast paints. They look really nice, and looking forward to getting that out as well. But obviously all this stuff kind of falls to the wayside or secondhand to the commissions, because, you know, very happy for how much business we have had, how popular the commission studio has been, tons and tons of regular, you know, my regular support basically comes from doing commission paint jobs. So I'm just absolutely ecstatic for all the people that have supported, you know, the channel, the business, myself, by purchasing commissions, all my regular bros and, you know, my favorite, whatever you want to call them, customers or commissionees, etc. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys, because you make all this possible. Obviously really enjoy the channel. It has been growing phenomenally and been getting extremely positive feedback from the community, but all of it is truly made possible by the actual studio itself. So for that, I do thank you guys. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and is ready to ring in the new year. I know that this year has been kind of crazy for people. Definitely has put a damper on a lot of our like social lives, or not exactly been the best financially for some people. So you know, that being said, if you're having a tough time, you know, there's always people out there that you can talk to. Reach out and stay positive. Sometimes things get a little dark before dawn, or the darkest before the dawn, so to speak. So keep your heads up, stay positive out there. You know, immerse yourself in the hobby, but make sure if you need somebody to talk to, or you know, some positivity in your life, that you are like seeking that out actively, because there's always people out there who care about each and every one of you, and you know, would obviously be willing to, you know, bend over backwards to make sure that you know, everybody has what they need, you know, financially, mentally, you know, health and physically, etc. So stay positive. Everybody keep your head on your shoulders. I know we all have our moments where we like to bitch and moan about the hobby, but we're all very fortunate that we get to be a part of such an awesome hobby and play with these extremely detailed, extremely awesome little toy soldiers and have fun. Very tight-knit community, sometimes can be a little bit toxic, so, you know, careful going too much on the internet and spending too much time with like these toxic people, because if there's one thing I know, it's you know, that the toxicity is definitely contagious. So stay positive. Make sure you get some painting done, slay that gray, so to speak. Make sure that you you know, stick with the more positive influencers online, or you know, groups that you're a part of. If you notice that they're too negative, or social media in general is too negative, you know, maybe take a step back from it and you know, find the things that are positive, the people that are positive, or like positive influences, and spend a little time focused on them, or focused on positive things in your own life. And I think you will more likely than not see positivity begets more positivity, and negativity begets more negativity. So pick what you want in your life and go that route. And I think you'll slowly see that it will start to dominate. So, but that's it. This is kind of like the year-end wrap up for Warhammer Man Studios. Appreciate all the growth that I saw this year on the actual channel itself. More so even, I appreciate all the people that purchase commissions, all my regulars. You know, you guys are my family. I know that a lot of you guys have nice careers, and you know, you definitely support me, and I really appreciate that. And you make what I do possible so that I can make what I do for you possible, because I know what it's like to have, you know, countless stacks of unpainted bros and just be working all the time. So it's nice that I have this little niche market where I can basically do what I love to do and bring joy to other people, and they can do you know, what they make their money doing, and pay me to make their models look awesome. So definitely appreciate it from everybody here at Warhammer Man Studios. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to each and every one of you. Looking forward to what 2022 brings. I've seen so much quality and growth on the actual channel over this past year, over these past 2 years, basically, since we started it. And I know that this growth is just going to be exponential. And, you know, the quality of content, finally some battle reports and everything should just take this to the next level. So if you have not subscribed already, please take the time, subscribe, share this on your favorite kill team or Warhammer group, share it with one friend, help us to grow the channel and grow the positivity. Make sure that you take the time to just click that like button on the video. And if you don't mind taking a moment to just comment, do you like kill team? What's your favorite kill team? Do you like the paint job? What would you be interested in seeing in the future? Possibly a painting tutorial? Or are you excited about battle reports? Do you have any questions, any comments, anything like that? As always, the paints used and techniques will be listed in the description of the video. But if anything is missing, definitely reach out to me. But yeah, that's it. Year-end wrap-up pretty much from Warhammer Man Studios. I am Warhammer Man. This is our kill team, Tau, Pathfinders, bespoke kill team video reveal of these, and basically just discussing a little bit about the future, about the year that has passed, and then also you know, a way that basically gifting or you know, giving away some painted models could potentially like motivate someone else to play games with you, or you know, just the equivalence of basically giving away something that's one of a kind, you know, and the extra like kind of thought that goes into it, an extra quality of something like an actual piece of art versus just giving away some plastic kits. So well, there you have it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video today and my Warhammer ramblings. I am Warhammer Man. This is Warhammer Man Studios, and I'm out of here.